We are joined now by North Carolina Congressman Tim Moore, leading a response to the murder of a Ukrainian woman on the Charlotte Light Rail. I should mention there are more videos coming out of the stabbing, and you can see no one coming to this young woman's aid, despite the fact they can see her clearly being stabbed. I would suggest, and I know this is dark and it is uncomfortable, but Congressman, as we bring you in, why has the full video not been released? And I don't say that because I am in favor of showing violent acts, but I do think it's important that we see what actually happens. And certainly if you think about the George Floyd video, the entire George Floyd video was shared and used to drive the burning of so many American cities and to set an artificial narrative about police. The narrative that there is far too much violent crime and that criminals who are arrested are let far too often back on the streets is one that is actually accurate. And in the case of this murder, 14-time arrested serial felon who finally decided that he was going to kill and that he was going to say that he was motivated to kill this woman because she was white. And Congressman, you represent a part of North Carolina and also a part of Charlotte. What is the reaction from your constituency, and what do you think about why we have yet to see this full video release?
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on the show. I wish it were under better circumstances, obviously. The reaction of folks that I'm hearing from back home in North Carolina are simply the same thing that you're hearing, the same thing that your listeners are probably feeling when they see this, when they hear about this. It's absolute disgust, and it's a breakdown in the system. And what we've seen time and time again, and particularly in some of the blue, North Carolina is a red county, a red state, but Mecklenburg is a blue county. And we see in a lot of cities around the country where you get these liberal judges that get in there, these liberal magistrates that come in, and they have these woke policies where they are just soft on crime. And to your point, this guy was a convicted felon with a violent rap sheet, had skipped court in the past, had firearms offenses, and this guy, he should have never been on the street where he could do this. And unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident where this is just like a one-off. I would submit to you these things happen every day throughout our country, which is, by the way, one reason that I'm co-sponsoring with Elise Stefanik a bill to withhold federal funds from states and local governments that fail to adhere to cash bail policies. If these guys are being held under a cash bail, they're going to be in jail. And a lot of people, frankly, they shouldn't even be given bond, where they're such a danger and a menace to society. But this guy clearly should have been in jail. Yeah,
Congressman, we appreciate you being here with us. So you have signed a letter. All 10 members of the North Carolina House, these are Republicans, obviously, they're demanding the removal of unelected magistrate judge Teresa Stokes, who released this repeat offender who went on. Tell us about this process, and is it likely to succeed to try to have this judge removed? Because I know state by state, these rules can be very different.
Yeah, so this is a magistrate judge. So matter of fact, my understanding is she graduated law school but never even passed the bar exam. And I've been an attorney for 30 years, so I kind of know this stuff. But she can be removed by the district court judge. She's not elected, and she should be. And I felt so. I'm the only Republican who represents Charlotte in Congress. The other member's a Democrat who represents most of Charlotte. But it's just disgusting this happened, and she has no business being a judge and being a magistrate if she doesn't have any better discernment than to let someone like this loose on the streets. This guy should have been in jail. This should have never happened.
I can't believe she didn't pass the bar. But let's go into this, because I think you're raising a really interesting question. I've trying to do the math. I've been a lawyer for 21 years now, so I've managed to pass a couple of bar exams over the years. we talked about the analogy, which I've seen shared, and I do think it's an interesting one, that if you are a bartender and you overserve someone, and as you well know, I'm sure, Congressman, if you're a lawyer, there are significant consequences for bartenders. At times, they can even be criminally prosecuted for overserving people who they know are a danger to the larger community, and they allow to engage in violent behavior as a result, partly of their action. How do we have higher standards for bartenders than we do for judges?
That's a shame, isn't it? It certainly is. And look, for folks to run for judge, all they have to do is be an attorney in good standing and get elected, right? And I would say the vast majority of elected judges do a good job, but you do have some out there that are just so far left. But one thing we've talked about doing is actually finding is to your point about like with the bartender, like in the dram shop laws, where they could be held civilly responsible for any injuries that happen as a result of serving someone who drinks too much going out having a wreck. We're actually looking right now at personal liability for a judge who turns someone loose and then goes out and commits a crime thereafter. Maybe that's the way to get people's attention. I mean, that's actually a bill that we're in the drafting phases right now. Clearly, we're going to look at constitutional provisions and whatnot. But I think there ought to be some accountability. I mean, if somebody is doing something this bad, they ought to be responsible for it.
And so, what do you think about the moves by the federal government because of this White House, the Trump administration, to at least offer up and perhaps even get a little more forceful than that, assistance from the federal law enforcement side to try to help cities that are truly crime-plagued?
It's amazing to me that we have some of these liberal Democrat governors around the country, and I look at what's happening in Chicago and some of these other some of these liberal mayors who hate Donald Trump more than they love their communities and more than they love and care about the people they are supposed to represent. I mean, so many of these communities. I'm talking to you from the District of Columbia right now, right? I mean, and I'm a new member of Congress. I've been here 8 months, and I showed up here and what I saw up here was a friggin' goat rodeo in terms of the amount of crime and homelessness and drugs. It's just embarrassing. It's our nation's capital. And I'm glad that the president stood up and, did something. Like I sent in there, and it's actually has a safer feeling. I hope it's sustained. But this president has shown this is not a political stunt. The president has offered this up to help, to help the people that live in these cities. Because you know what? When it comes to crime, it shouldn't be Republican, Democrat. But guess what? These Democrats are making it a partisan issue. And I'm hopeful. I'm so hopeful that the people are paying attention to this. And because where there's an opportunity to get help, folks ought to take it. Because look at Chicago. I mean, they're overwhelmed. But and back in North Carolina, the point there, I think we can kind of surgically say in that case it's some of these loose bail policies being adopted by some of these liberal judges. I mean, it really is going to require all of the above to make our cities safe again.
Congressman, North Carolina is a super fascinating state, as you well know, because there's a very big difference between, let's say, the left-wing college communities that encircle some of the campuses and the people who live in Western North Carolina or the people who live in other rural parts of North Carolina. It's a very different state, meaning there's a lot of variety. But doesn't it unite everyone to say, hey, to your point, we just want to be safe in the state of North Carolina, in our big cities, white, black, Asian, Hispanic? You hit on it, but I talked about it earlier. I've been talking about it a lot on the show. I'm staggered that the Democrat response to evidence of high rates of violent crime is, well, it's a little bit better than it used to be, as if that's somehow a good thing.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing that I've seen. And I will tell you that, my district that I represent, I have urban areas in it, but I have some very rural areas. I mean, I have a lot of the mountains of North Carolina that were ravaged by Hurricane Helene. In fact, it's a big district. And what I hear across that entire geographic area and across the political spectrum is people saying enough is enough of this crime. Enough is enough of a broken criminal justice system that values the rights of criminals over the rights of people who are just trying to be law-abiding citizens going about their business. I mean, think about this. This young lady, fled Ukraine, coming to America for safety, is on a light rail train, is a passenger there, as she'd gotten off work, and this evil guy just stabs her in the neck. And then the other thing on the video, you asked about the video. I don't know why the rest of the video hasn't been released. I mean, it may be to respect the victim. I don't know. That's a local decision.
I understand that argument, but sometimes you have to see a video in its totality to really shock the conscience. And so I just would implore anybody listening out here in North Carolina, and I bet you would probably agree with me. I'll let you answer it too. But to me, we need the full unedited video of what happened to understand the scope of evil. And we should have to watch it, those of us who are adults, obviously, to recognize what we have allowed to occur. Because it's one thing if a violent perpetrator out of nowhere acts. The guy was arrested 14 times. I think the guy deserves a second chance, third chance. Nobody deserves a 15th chance. I'm sorry. And so I want to get your reaction to that, but I think we need to stare into evil and see it.
I think people need to see it. It's ugly. And there's a video there's been additional video released. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but there's one showing right after he stabbed her. And she's there, and nobody on the damn train even is doing anything to help her. I'm like, I did that, and I just saw that maybe like 15 minutes before I just came on the show with you, and I'm still kind of stunned by seeing that no other people on that train did a thing to help this lady. I mean, that's terrible. Yeah. I don't even know what to say about it.
We have shared these videos, and they're dark and disturbing, and I would encourage you, I know a lot of people, kids, grandkids, they don't need to watch this. But I think every adult, you need to steel your soul, and you need to watch it because you need to see what evil is capable of, and you need to look at it, and you need to think we all can do better, and we got to get these people off our streets, and we got to hold them accountable.
Well, it absolutely, and this should be a call to action. And what's been amazing, there's been a few of us that have been digging around trying to find out what happened because a lot of the details were kind of murky as to what exactly occurred. And when the video got released is when a few of us were making noise about this is terrible. Why is nobody talking about it? And then of course you guys are talking about it and others are, but mainstream media is just now kind of sort of begrudgingly in some ways coming along talking about this. And it's just, crime is crime. And to your point, evil is evil. And I do think there's it's a reminder of people to be vigilant, to be aware, to understand that evil is out there and that we need to be able to protect ourselves. We need to be able to have a firearm, to protect ourselves from something. But it's a sad state too when, there aren't folks who, when they see this, that don't intervene and try to help and try to render aid. I do think it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch, but you know what? We need to stare it in the face and we need to deal with it. But I'm going to tell you something. This president's not sitting idly by, and this Congress is not sitting idly by. I say we're looking at legislation right now that's like, all right, enough is enough. These communities are going to do things that do not follow the law and consistent law when it comes to cash bail. Then there's going to be consequences, and that may be losing federal dollars. Who knows? That may be the only thing that'll get some of these folks' attention. I don't know.
North Carolina Congressman Tim Moore, appreciate you being with us, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
I hate to say it, but a lot of people out there in the wake of what they are seeing of violence all over the country are deciding to protect themselves. And sometimes that protection can be of a lethal variety. And a lot of you have decided that you want to buy guns and you want to protect you and your family in that way. But also a lot of you have non-lethal methods that you want to be providing to your kids, to your grandkids, to your different homes out there. And that's what Sabre does. They are non-lethal. They've got pepper spray projectiles for self-protection. And these are amazing when it comes to protecting you without having a lethal component to it. They also have so many different pepper sprays, so many different protective devices for your home. If you are feeling, as many of us are, like you need to make sure that you are protecting your family from the violent criminals out there that would do them harm, I would suggest you go to saberradio.com. You can save 15% off right now, and you can see what might make sense for you and your family. If you got daughters and granddaughters going off to college, maybe you've got kids out there, teenagers that are working their first summer jobs, and now they're continuing those jobs into the fall. New school season, maybe you got new drivers and you want to be able to have protective devices for them in the car. We've got a 17-year-old with a driver's license now. We have all sorts of protective devices, pepper spray for him inside of the car in the event that something happens to him. I use Saber products for my own family. I would encourage you to see what they have available to see if it makes sense for your family, and I think it probably will. Saberradio.com. 15% off there right now. SABRE radio.com. That's saberradio.com. SABRE radio.com.